Hello, it's Wednesday. Well, it may be a different day, but whatever it is, it's welcome back to Leading Our Own Way. It's part 2 with Justin Lund. If you missed part 1, it was the fall and the wake-up call, and this is the rebuild. Justin shares how recovery didn't just give him his life back, it gave him a mission. From bankruptcy and addiction to stability, purpose and peace. Justin explains the routines and strategies that helped him plan for the hard days before they even arrive. We dive into Propel, his coaching business built to empower business owners and help them avoid the traps he fell into. We also talk about the freedom flywheel, how small choices done consistently can change everything, and his involvement with School Pulse, supporting student mental health through proactive outreach. Absolutely incredible. Love all of that journey. We've changed it around a little bit. We discussed that more towards the end, and we normally do that at the beginning, but we've done that at the end on this one. It just made sense with the way the conversation was flowing. Anyway, this is wisdom for your personal life and your business, so stick around for the whole episode. You're going to get it all. If you're getting value, though, please follow, share, and leave a review. Only 39% of my listeners are actually following the show. Please go and press that follow. It really will help. Let's get into it. It's Justin for part 2 and myself. Here's Leading Our Own Way. Before we dive in, I want to give a big, massive shout out to our now new proud sponsor, Eshu Skincare, a brand that truly aligns with Leading Our Own Way. This Australian-born company is dedicated to keeping skincare simple, effective, and straightforward. They've made waves in the US, even landed in Macy's and over 300 stores, and now they're back with a renewed focus on healthy skin and real results. If you want authentic skincare that fits your lifestyle, check them out in the show notes. Thanks to Eshu Skincare for supporting real stories and mental fitness on Leading Our Own Way. And if you're interested in sponsoring like Eshu Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to connect.
Well, if you can't provide for your family, then what good are you here? And that's some of those moments where I was really at the darkest, lowest spots. But it was only a couple of days before I got pulled over and arrested again for the second time with felony possession of drug charges, which meant that I was facing what could have been years in prison.
What did you have?
I had heroin, some pain pills, but mostly heroin because that's just the cheaper version of pain pills. Pain pills I hadn't been able to afford pain pills for 6-8 months because of just the condition, my finances, everything just crumbling down. So having it in, if you just having some with an intent to distribute was kind of the charge because I had enough that it was more than personal use. Not really, but those are the charges. So, and I had 2 arrests within 2 months with the same kind of charges. And so the attorney that my mom actually hired for me on the first round, because we didn't have any money, he came down after the second arrest and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "Man, you got to help me here." And he's like, "Help you? What do you want me to do?" This is the set. I'm hoping that I can get you out in 3 to 5 years. That's what. So I'm thinking, Andrew, I know you just took your son to school today. I'm thinking, I got a kid that's in first grade. I got a kid that is 2 years old. I'm thinking immediately, that's where my mind started doing math. 3 to 5 years. Oh, yeah. I'm like, Ed, this is his name. You did my attorney. You have to figure out something. And he's like, "What the fuck do you expect me to do? You got arrested twice in 2 months." And that was right after getting arrested another time, but 2 serious sets of charges within 60 days of each other. I'm not Houdini, man. I'm like, "You're going to come up with something." So we kind of cooked up this idea that his thought was, if I try to get as many continuations as possible on your hearings, every hearing you get, I'll just push it out. I'll say I'm busy. I'll say, I'll just come up with whatever reason I can to extend. You get out of this place and you go straight to rehab. Do not pass go. Do not go home and pack a bag. You just go. Get the fuck out of here and go to rehab. And if you complete that and they give you good marks, and if you never fucking touch a drug again, hopefully I can push the court date out 3 years. And if that happens, there's a chance that the judge says, this guy has a family. I'm not going to send him to prison. Just, he's been good. I'm like, a chance? He's like, that's the best and only possible solution that we have. So I strung my whole next few years plan on hopefully the judge likes me when he sees me in a few years. And that's what it was all hinging on right there.
Wow. Well, I did not even know that. So you did everything step by step.
Followed the plan. Yeah, I followed the plan. I went into rehab. I was so terrified when my wife drove me up there. I don't know how. I don't know how she had the fortitude to stick to the plan. Because I was begging her, please not to, don't make me do this. No. I just thought my whole life was going to fall apart. As soon as I go in there, she's going to leave. The kids are gone. Everything that I knew is going to be over. But she stuck to it. And I remember going in there just so terrified, just not sure what was going to happen next. And the next day, there was this great doctor, Dr. Bob. He taught me so much, and he kind of started pushing my buttons and pushing me along, and he was just he was an enigma, man. He looked like Santa Claus, but he talked like a sailor, and he would just throw things at me, and I'd be like, what did you just say? And I decided in the first group, within the first hour, I'm like, if it's possible to get off of this shit, I will. Mm-hmm. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in a place like this. And it wasn't nice. I mean, it was a shitty state run. Like, it was dirty. It was gross. It kind of freaked me out to be there. But the doctors were phenomenal. The instruction was second to none. And I squeezed every drop. Like, I was tenacious. I wanted to know why, how does it work? Why is this doing this? And I just challenged everything. And I loved every minute of it. It was amazing.
Because you learned a lot about physiology there, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. And psychology, just the way, the psychology that I'd read, like the Tony Robbins stuff, the Zig Ziglars, the things, they were all like hype psychology, like how to be motivated and how to do your best and how to conquer the world. Yeah. And I like that stuff. I still like that stuff, but there was missing pieces. And there was a lot, honestly, there was a lot of things in that setting that were like the Tony Robbins. There was a lot of there was a lot of similar veins that I'm seeing alignment on. But then there was more to that. And that it's like the rest of the puzzle pieces that I got being there. And it was very tailored and particular to me. It wasn't a book that I'm reading. This is a lived experience no phones, no distractions, no kids. There were 6 weeks every single day. And the item on the docket was get my shit together. that's the program. And it was really cool to go that deep and to dive into why we do the things we do and what motivates our decisions and our behavior and our language and just how to really get the basic understanding of that so that I can use that to govern current and future decisions and realities. It was phenomenal. I think everybody should go. I tried to go back, honestly. A year later, I'm like, can I just come for a week? Can I just come back and and they're like, get the fuck out of here. We need to help people that need our help, and you need to.
Well, there's your niche. You should create an after rehab. A year later, people release themselves.
Rehab. Like just
rehab.
Yeah, here we go.
Let's do that. We'll do that together. I like that.
Okay.
You got him. I don't mean to bring it up, and I'm not doing this on purpose, I swear. But you got a bit emotional back there talking about your wife. Did you get emotional because you thought she was going to leave you, or? Oh yeah, did she? She stuck by you, right?
Yeah. I'm still married to the same woman, and I'm just impressed by her strength. Like that, I couldn't have. I've dealt with things like this since with my own family, my own kids, my siblings. And the balls, Andrew, like the ability to go through that is, most people, it's like, no, don't send me, please. I don't want to go. And they're like, oh, okay, come here. Let me help. And they enable and they make it worse. And for some reason, somehow she didn't. And I'm just impressed. I'm impressed with her fortitude and her stamina to stand up to that because I wasn't making it easy. I wasn't like, hey, hon,
No.
could you drive me up to rehab, please? I was like, oh, please, dear God, don't take me.
Yeah.
I was anything. I was pulling out all the stops to make that work. So I'm just impressed. I'm grateful and impressed.
Amazing woman. Beautiful. Love
Yes.
it. And it was 2 kids by this point, and you still have another 2 after rehab. Is that right?
That's right. Yep.
So after rehab, you wanted to prove yourself. You wanted to obviously rebuild your family, to start fresh. Obviously, that's what the soul and the brain ultimately needs, doesn't it? To rebuild purpose.
Yeah.
That's when you started to change again, right? You built a bit of a marketing agency after that.
I did. Yeah.
Did really, 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 really well.
I did. I had some incredible, I was very fortunate and created a level of success that I didn't even have the capability of dreaming of prior to that, to be completely honest. And you know, some of the keys that came out of that rehab experience that really gave me the springboard to go forward. And this is important. This is key because most of those self-help and rah-rah, and not to downplay them, I really love that kind of material, and those things do a lot of good, I think, for a lot of people. But what they miss is they often don't help you to create a plan for your worst days. They talk about building the best days, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when I got to week 4 of rehab, 80%, 90% of everything that we did for the next 2 weeks was all about planning for the worst days, transition planning. And that's, as a matter of fact, I have a couple of playbooks that I send out to my clients as where they're building businesses. And and it applies and works in their personal lives, and it works in a lot of things just to create a blueprint and a structure. Oh, and ChatGPT and AI makes this so much faster to use now. Mm-hmm. But I'll be happy to send those out. If anybody, like if you want to know how to make a plan for your worst day, just come and follow me on Instagram, and I'll send you the Google Doc that I use, that I send to my clients. Just send me, Andrew, worst day. And I'll know that it's here and it's all yours. So no catch. But that's what made all the difference. It began, you know, I'm feeling good. I'm a month in, I'm sober, I'm clean, feeling like $1 million. And they're like, all right, not so fast. You know, on the outside, you got all these people there. What do you think they think of you? I'm like, oh, they're going to be so excited. They're going to see me. I'm going to feel so good. I haven't felt this good in years. They're like, hold on.
Yeah.
Not so
Think of that.
Yeah. It didn't even cross my mind before they brought it up. Like, yeah, the last time they saw you, you were in an orange jumpsuit, shitbag. So just remember that. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Shouldn't laugh, but it's just the way you say it.
Yeah. So they taught me how to like temper expectations and how to deal with those thoughts and those thoughts. And because I was criticized, I was judged, I was, you know, all those things. And I would have been ill-equipped and unprepared to deal with them because all those nasty forces came back roaring into my life when people would say like, oh, are you here to meet your drug dealer? Or, you know, you haven't created a paycheck for our family for 6 months. And, you know, like all these people that are supposed to love and support and help me, they just wanted to pile on, but they taught me how to be ready for that. And
I love that.
For the most part, I was like, I got it, bring it on. But in those moments when it felt like I was about to collapse under it, I had different techniques and strategies predetermined and defined so that I didn't go back to, well, what good am I without this anyway? Or why might as well do that? Who cares anyway? Because those are the kind of thoughts that'll fuck you up, you know, it only takes one moment of that weakness and you're right back in. You're one day away from potentially just losing your shit again, right? And you got to have those transition plans. You have to have those days planned for, whether it's just going through life today from day to day. I use that right now. So for instance, people talk to me about my fitness level and how can I get in shape and what do I do? And they think it's this big long list of things. I'm like, no, just let's look at your weight. Let's talk about the number of grams of protein that you need. Let's set a progressive step goal. How many steps do you get every day? Let's pull out your phone and see what it says for the trend. Okay, let's make that trend go like this. And number 3, don't fuck up 2 days in a row. You're gonna mess up. Just make sure that it's only one day and then the next day, hell or high water, you get back on that horse. Like you are back you're going to get the steps in, you're going to hit the protein goal. I don't care if you go on a bender and you drink yourself silly. That's okay. Tomorrow, make sure you get 150 grams of protein in and you take your steps. That's it. Because if you do that and you have those kind of fail safes in, you won't throw the baby out with the bathwater and go, fuck it, I might as well just go eat that whole cheesecake then and then drink that fifth of whiskey. You know, like you just don't do that. So fail safes, that was the key. Armed with this information, I did kind of feel like I had unlocked this new level of life. You know, I remember waking up every day. This lasted for 9 months. I literally kept track for 9 months from the day I checked into rehab. Every day I woke up. Well, it was about 2 weeks in when I started to feel this. So after 2 weeks in, every day I woke up and I felt recognizably better than the day before that I woke up. That continued for 9 consecutive months before I leveled off. And there's a reason I learned why that is. It's because of the receptors in the brain that I'd been taking so many substances. Those receptors had become shut off because it can't take in more of these chemicals, like that's the dopamine receptors and all this stuff. So they were beginning to open. Dopamine was beginning to get created naturally. And it was kind of like a little drip in my brain every day of this really, really good shit that had no consequence and side effect. You know, it was awesome.
Is that dopamine or is that serotonin? So I think because dopamine obviously is the pleasure, and were you receiving pleasure? You obviously weren't receiving pleasure in the same way, but serotonin is obviously it's a probably a mixture of both, isn't it?
Yeah, probably both. Yeah, and serotonin definitely. So those receptors are very similarly situated, and I don't know the biology of it all. I remember going to some of those aftercare appointments saying like, why, how? I'm no shit. I could tell you that this is where I woke up 3 weeks ago on Wednesday. This is where I woke up today. Why is that? Nothing changed. I'm eating the same. I'm doing the same. Nothing. It's just, and it's these receptors that begin to open up, and it's the creation of natural chemicals that our body's designed to do, all of which for 5 years, 3 years to 5 years, I'd been just completely destroying and shutting down. And so as those turn back on, I'm just like, whoa. Sleeping naturally, no aid, nothing to help me fall asleep or stay asleep. Oh man, it was just a beautiful thing. And so as I was feeling that sort of natural high, pouring myself all back into work because I knew that they taught me to kind of expect the amount of time that I had been, like if I'd been lying and cheating to my wife for 2 years, that I needed to be ready to endure about 2 years, about the same, right? Like be ready for about the same amount of time. Now it may get a little bit better, but that's what you need to sign. So that's the kind of expectation I went in with. Like, okay, this could be a few years of kind of sucking, but I deserve it. I can work through it. I'm a big boy now. I've learned some things and I know how to do better. So I pretty much made the decision that I'm going to go all in on my business. I'm going to be there for my kids, but I'm going to show the world that I'm not just a guy that wears an orange jumpsuit and is a piece of shit. And so I really went all in and I tried to just go full tilt. I worked on that for about a year, started to see some results. Was at the point where I was probably making a 6-figure income on my own, one-man band, just a solopreneur, and thought this is pretty good. But I was working hard. I was really working a lot. I mean, a couple of days a week, I was hitting 20 hours a day. You know, I would fall asleep on my computer keyboard, but I was proud of myself. I was paying off debts. I was taking care of all these mistakes that I had made, and I was starting to work on the marriage and putting some pieces back into that picture and making that a little bit better. But something changed about a year or so in, give or take. It was around a year. So I thought, I can't do this anymore at this level. And I'm seeing my kids grow. And I'm like, the whole reason I fought so hard was so I could be there for my kids. And I'm missing a lot of this time with my kids. So I started calling some of my clients in this agency to tell them, I'm just going to tone it down a little bit. I'm going to work a little bit less, but don't worry, I still got you. I made the first call. They're like, okay, we're going to find somebody else. I was like, whoa, hold on. Then I was about to make the next call. I'm like, I can't do this. I didn't even think of them. I'm only thinking of me. And I realized that they don't want their business to shrink just because I don't have any time. So I was doing a good job with the few clients that I had, but they expected more and they wanted to see a path like this. They didn't want to see dips. Yeah. So that's where I knew that I was a little bit outside of my own pay grade. And that's when I began to look for people that I could get some coaching and some mentoring from. And I brought some people in to help me. I recruited a few friends to come work for me, a few guys that I knew, 2 in particular. One who now this building that I'm in right now, I pay him rent. He is now my landlord. So he worked for me for years, and now I'm one of his tenants. I love it. And then I brought in a mentor, which I ended up learning a lot of lessons from, but a lot of them, unfortunately, were what not to do too. And that's where things started to go a little bit south with my business. But over those next few years, like before things did turn, I mean, we went from, the couple of $1 million of revenue when I was by myself, maybe right around $1 million, to quickly into about 7 or 8 million the next year, and then over 35 million the next year. And then we started pushing just under, and then one business turned into 5 over the next couple of years. So there were supporting companies that kind of spawned off of that one. And between them all, we were just shy of just $100 million, just under $100 million of revenue by 2009.
So from one person being you working solely to how many people working with you?
98.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was our high point. That was our high water mark. That was a lot, man. That was a lot to deal with. Yep.
Damn. Oh my God. So I've got it's kind of off topic, but I just wanted to go back to your statement of, and we'll come back to that because I know that's where things then, like you've just mentioned, go south. But how long did it take for people around you, close to you, being that judgment of that guy in the orange jumpsuit and being judgment or feeling that judgment? How long did that take to slowly disappear from your physiology, your feeling? Yeah.
I think it was I think the way the doctors kind of prepared me for that was a good expectation of about 2 years. There was 2 years of some real, like the way I was treating the rest of society and family. And so it was about 2 years for that to really shift. And I don't know that it's entirely gone even now, to be honest.
Really?
There's still time, maybe a little bit. But
that's a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. And it's not as much that there's a concern about that as there is, I'm still just the youngest of 9 kids. I'm still the doesn't matter how old I am. I still have the older siblings, and I have a role, and I'm a certain spot in the pecking order, and that's probably never going to change in some of those ways of thinking. So,
is it friends and family? Is it friends and family that still you feel that judgment from?
Yeah, just a little. It's nothing much, but sometimes it's just I'm curious by some of the comments that are sort of like that go back to that spot.
Can I ask what type of, and obviously we don't need to name who, but what type of comments come your way even today then that you think, that's connected to that?
Yeah. They're very subtle. They're little things like sometimes a sibling will say like, well, yeah, we don't all work for you. Okay. So that may come out in some heightened weird state because the shift was pretty dramatic, right? I went from orange jumpsuit to 2 years later, I've got 30 or 40 employees and we're doing pretty good money. And 2 years after that, we're doing a lot of revenue. I got 100 employees almost. And I had all the trappings of that successful life too. I mean, I had a house that was like 16,000 square feet, and I would bring the family over, and we'd get all 9 siblings and all their kids, and everybody could stay at the house, and we'd have a family gathering and get together. And that, I wanted that to be like, hey, this is me bringing our family together. I was telling my wife as we're doing this goal planning, like things have always felt big to me, like big thoughts, and sometimes I feel like my siblings and different people in life, they just see things as life is small. And I've always felt like it's big. There's big possibility, big opportunity. I didn't think that I could go that big back then. I didn't think that was possible.
That's huge, yeah.
But when, I had this, I began to learn things that I didn't know then, like the value of my time. I began to get rid of, and I teach people this stuff now because it's so powerful. Like I was pulling all the levers at the time, right? Solopreneur. I'm pulling everything by myself. And then some of these guys came in, and I had a couple of PhD level guys working for me, several master's degree guys working for me, and then my mentor and a coach working with me. And they were showing me how I could focus on just the $100,000 levers. Like if I spent my time doing these 5 things, so I did, and everything else, I learned how to delegate. And some of that was really good. Some of it became my demise later. But that lesson still held true, that as I learned to delegate and replace myself out of those situations, that gave me more time for the things I was really good at. And so we went from this big to this big to this big very, very quickly, because we brought the people in to do their job. Like running an accounting business, I never would have imagined that. But I have people that worked for me that know, even if we were planning a barbecue, Andrew, I'd say, okay, let's have a company barbecue. Let's get together. They'd say, okay. They'd turn around, they jump on their computer, they open a spreadsheet. And I'm like, to me, I think, what's wrong with you? Why do you do that? That's not, you'll never in a million years see me do that. You will see me grab a piece of paper. You'll see me, but I just don't default to that. But there are people that do. And that's what I learned in those years, is there are people that do these things. And I just learned the value of that time and those skills to find the right people for the right roles and the right seats on the bus.
Well, that's good business, isn't it?
Yeah.
What would you consider yourself to be very good at then?
Relationships, business development, kind of finding opportunities. What I really became good at then, that was pretty transformative, is I would see these people. I did a lot of travel, so I'd be going all over the world, and I'd meet with somebody in Russia, for instance, on a trip there. And they were very good at programming and computer technology and different things. And they were trying to sell a certain product or service. And so I'd find a market fit for it and people that could help them promote that and do all these things. But then I would see, being in their business, because they're all, you can't see the forest for the trees, sort of a thing. And they're so close to these problems. I'd say, well, what are you doing with all those people there, or these people that bought and then canceled later? Do you do anything to try to reactivate them? And they would just never think of it. They'd be like, no, they canceled. Why would we do that? Like, well, I know a guy in the Philippines, and I think you should meet and talk to him. Like, people would send me Rolex watches for a gift just to make a connection.
God.
I'm like, you realize I'm making some pretty good money off that introduction myself, but hey, I'll take gifts. That's
absolutely. Okay. How many Rolexes have you got now?
Yeah, I have a couple.
You sold them.
So those were the things that I really got. I'd say, the table scraps of one could really feed another. And now I pair these guys together with an idea. Like, I'm thinking you do this and you add this to that you're doing. If you just put that in your model, now this guy in Russia is making an extra $200,000 a month off of something that he thought was just nothing. And this guy in the Philippines is doing their part, and he's bringing in $100,000 a month on this new revenue stream. Both of them are happy, and I'm making 10% in the middle for lining up the deal. I mean, I love those kinds of arrangements. So I could kind of put those together, and that was something that just really would light me up to help find and create and add value.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Yeah. We're going off topic again. I feel like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a business growth. It could be more of a personal growth. But going back to friends and family, you feeling those comments. I don't know if I experienced this, but in terms of my personal growth, maybe, and I don't want to burden you necessarily with the answer, but do you ever find with your growth, people are not there to able to fit in your life in the same way that they once did? So meaning your personal growth, is there an element of jealousy there, maybe, that's why those things still come your way? Do you know where I'm coming from?
I do. Yeah, I think so.
Is that something that you've experienced? Do you feel?
I do. And I think I've got 2 thoughts on that.
Yeah.
One is, recently I've just started to think that there are some people in my life that I need to be okay with. Not that I need to push them out of my life, but I need to be okay with that relationship and connection evolving to look drastically different, potentially.
Like boundaries.
Yeah. And just, I don't need to make it look a certain way, because I do have that picture way out there that we talked about at the beginning. and I know what direction my boat is rowing, and if having that clarity on that is such a game changer and is so key that if you don't have that, I think everything just gets harder because you're trying to pull and you're trying to push through and you're trying to fight things and it becomes a challenge. Yeah. But when you have that clarity on that purpose, your decision alignment becomes much more clear and easy to make. And the other part, I think there is. So I've talked a lot about this with my kids. I've been thinking a lot about it because I see my kids as they become adults struggling with the same thing. Like there's a jealousy. I think society does this a lot. I don't know if it's any different in Australia as it is, or in the UK, or I know here in the US, people give up on their dreams. They have these dreams as they're in their youth. They start to pursue them. Life kind of squishes that out of them a bit, gives them obstacles, curveballs. And then because they made concessions and started to slowly and subtly give up on those pursuits, they drag other people into that same sort of mentality of that you should give up on your pursuits. And that pisses me off, but I see it. And I probably contribute and do, like, I know that it's part of it's the culture, it's our society, but I try to be very aware of it. But I tell all my kids, like, I might try to dissuade you from following your dreams. And if you ever hear me say that, give me one of these and you're allowed. Like, because I don't want to be knowingly participating in dissuading you from your dreams. So my son wants to pursue professional baseball, and I've got an aunt that is just the sweetest, the nicest woman ever. I love her. One of my most favorite people on earth who's alive, like such a sweetheart. And I'm at her house with my son and he's pursuing baseball, telling her about like, oh, this is what's going on. This is the thing. She's like, well, what do you want to do when you're done with that? Like for a real job.
Yeah.
And she doesn't mean that in a way, but as soon as we walked out of that house, I said, just because she's a saint, you got to take that shit and you got to pull it out of your brain and fucking throw it in the garbage because it isn't real and it's not you. And he's like, that's no big deal, Dad. I'm like, it is a big deal. Because if you don't combat that thought, if you don't do something to contradict what she just did and put in your brain, you'll adapt it. You'll agree with it because it's her. She's a sweetheart and you love her. Fucking don't do it, dude. Take a plunger out and just get it out of there. I get intense and crazy about it because I really believe that that's what people do unwittingly.
Mate, I agree. I always say to the kids at school, be the crazy guy in the room and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And I always share the Uber as an example. I said, when I first moved to Australia, one of my basketball teammates said, get an Uber home. I was like, what on earth is that? And he said, it was when a stranger who's not a taxi driver comes and picks you up in their own car. There's no exchange of money. He'll pick you up from where you want off an app. He'll give you a free bottle of water or something like that. And then he'll take you to wherever you want to go. It's cheaper. I'm thinking, this is a recipe for being kidnapped. Are you crazy? I'm not doing that. I'm just going to go to the taxi rank where I know I'm safe. He said, no, trust me. It's brilliant. So I did it. I'm like, the Uber guys provided millions of jobs around the world now. Yeah. No one wanted to invest in because that idea would never work. Now there's other paradigm shifts with food deliveries with it and all of that. And that guy's now laughing at everybody who didn't have faith in him. Right. Be the crazy guy in the room. Be the fool. It'll pull off. And if it doesn't, you've learned many ways on the way. Many different ways on the way.
Amen. I love it. And I totally agree with it. Yeah. And I think that language is built into our society to make it normal, to make it acceptable, where my son was talking to his boss. He's working in the restaurant business, and his boss is like, well, you're making enough money. You should buy a car now. And my son's like, well, I live 2 blocks away from the restaurant. I don't really, gym's right there. The work's right. He's like, Dad, do you think I should buy a car? I'm like, fuck no. Not if you don't want a car, dude. Like, you go do what he did. Go borrow $60,000, because then as soon as he said you could get a car, he went and showed off his truck that is a $65,000 truck that he pays at $1,200 a month for the next 7 years. Like, that what you want? You want to get married to a truck for 7 years? That's convenient for him because you'll now have to come to that job every day or else you can't make your truck payment. And he's like, yeah, that's what I thought. That seems weird. Like, I think I'm going to pursue this instead. I'm like, there you go. Listen to the drumbeat in your heart. and march to it. Have the courage and the audacity to stick to that beat.
Agreed. I felt it with the podcast, right? I'm not a teacher anymore. I'm just a casual teacher or supply or whatever you call it, replacement teacher in America. And it's perceived bottom of the bottom. But mate, I've done every single tick list in the department, apart from being a principal. I've done pretty much everything else. I've opened a school. I've won Teacher of the Year. I've done all of that, not to show off. That's not what it's about. But I've left it, and this is my purpose. Does it bring me the income? No. But if you chase that, I feel like I'd burn out. I feel it will come because of my passion and my commitment to the cause. For sure. Everything else will come eventually. I love that, the fact that it can offer so much to the world. And obviously, if I can do it full time, damn right, who wouldn't want to? Absolutely. But I felt that off people, who are close, not close to me, real close, but the people are just around me have never even acknowledged, which is cool. I'm not doing it to prove them wrong. I'm doing it to prove myself right. And I think that's the powerful part in that message, isn't it? Going back to you though, because I know I could talk to you for hours. I feel like we could go on and on and on.
Yeah, I love it.
No, and me too, absolutely. And we've still got to share some of your frameworks and models, or however terminology you use for that. But I know I'm dying to know a little bit more, and so I always try and think about what the viewers are thinking. Going back to that, your business is going so well, but you mentioned how it started to dip. Something dramatically went wrong. You've mentioned it a few times with the court case, the lawsuit. Just fill that gap for us before we go to the other part.
So the timing of this is important because the housing crisis in America starts to take place here, where liquidity starts to shrink and dry up a bit. Now, one of the things, my business was very cash flow heavy. Like, I'd get a lot of revenue in for advertising budgets and then spend a lot of it. So there was a lot of turnover of cash. And one of the guys that I brought in to mentor and ultimately did partner with, unbeknownst to me, was using some of that cash flow in banks to pledge as collateral to basically get the banks, the board, to agree to more financing terms on other projects that I don't even know what they were. I have no idea. I was never a part of, but it kind of acted as though that was his cash flow and borrowed money against it, and would say things like, well, if I'm a signer on the account with you, then I can help you administer the account and make sure that while you're off in Russia landing this new deal that you're so great at, I'll be over here taking care of it. So I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I put him on as a signer. There was some ulterior motives there that I didn't learn about. But as liquidity began to shrink and dry up, you'll remember the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, came in and started taking banks, and then auditors would come in. And these auditors had subpoena power, and they could go conduct. It's kind of like a quasi-government agency. It's a private company, but they're endowed with a lot of power from the government to go in and fix banks when they're in an insolvent state. So these people would come into these banks, and apparently there were some loans that were going to get called, and if I were ever questioned, that would look really bad, and it would kind of expose the whole thing because I had no idea what was going on. So that was kind of part of it. So I was encouraged to just kind of stay out of the limelight, to stay out of the spotlight. There could be investigations, and you don't want to be mixed up with that with your young family. I started to develop a lot of fear. Like, what do you mean investigations? What's going on? And like, don't worry, we'll take care of everything. Just, why don't you go on vacation for a few weeks? I'm like, oh, okay. Why? Well, then nobody's trying to subpoena you or ask questions. And you and your kids are just, we'll deal with this mess. And there was just a lot of that sort of manipulation taking place. At the same time, our business started to shrink because almost every business in America and in the world at that time began to shrink and constrict a little bit. So what started to become more apparent that was happening for a long time that I didn't know is these people that were involved as kind of mentors and part of my organization now that were deeply embedded by this point, years later, had been taking money and setting payments out, $5,000 for this, $7,000 for that. But now in 2009, as it was closing, and in 2010, where the economy was really like starting to lock up, it wasn't 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. It was 1.2 million. Gone. It was I'm like, where's the money going? And these questions were answered with the FDIC's coming in and we just didn't want that to get frozen. So we put it over here in this bank. It's all good. And I was okay with that for a couple of weeks until it happened again and again and again. And I'm like, okay, what's the deal? And that's where, like, I even had people in my life say, you realize that you're probably getting screwed here. I'm like, no. I mean, these people would come over to my house and they would eat dinner with me and my family. And we saw each other every single day. And I thought there's no way there was a connection to my family through this family. So it predated even our business engagement together. And I never thought, it never occurred to me until the money was all gone, basically. And so when the money was all gone, I only had a few $1,000s in my account. And out of all of this, and we went from 100 employees down to 50, down to 30. We kept shrinking, trying to save money. And every time there would just be the swipe of money being taken out. And that was kind of the end of it, to where I said, I need some of that money back so I can do X, Y, Z. And it happened over lunch. We're sitting at a table for two, like me and one man. And I'm telling him what I'm going to do. And I've got these plans. And I was really just trying to call his bluff, because every time I would ask something, it was always this crafty answer that I'd get back. Like, no, it's because of this and the FDIC and all these crazy things that I was just like, I kind of makes sense, I guess. But so I thought, okay, I'm going to present an idea that's going to show him how we'll start making money again and creating revenue streams. But I'm going to express how I need $650,000 to get A, B, C, and D pieces in place. So I said, hey, let's go have lunch. He met me. We had lunch. He's sitting like from me to the computer away, and he's like, you're a genius. I love it. It's a great plan. You're just going to rock. It's great. I'm like, okay, send me that 600 from that last $1.5 million you transferred last week. Just send me 650 back to this account, put it in there. And he's like, cool. All right, right on. Excellent. Actually, he never said all right. He just said cool. And in hindsight, I recognize the difference. The next day I call him in the morning because there's no money in the bank account. He doesn't take the call. And then I text him. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, can't talk on the runway. Heading to Hawaii. I'm like, oh, really? I didn't get any money. He says, what money?
Just taking a very quick break to thank our sponsor, SU Skincare. If you haven't heard of them, SU Skincare started right here in Australia, using Australian ingredients to make skincare straightforward and accessible, especially for men who want results without the fuss. Their journey took them all the way to the US, where they were featured in Macy's and over 300 stores. Now they're back with a fresh approach, focusing on healthy skin and authenticity for everyone. I'm proud to have SU Skincare as a sponsor on Leading Our Own Way. See the show notes for their website and to see how you can keep your skin healthy and confident. And if you're interested in sponsoring like SU Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Now, right back to the episode.
I said, the money we spoke about at lunch yesterday, like 18 hours ago, money. We had a long 2-hour conversation about it. He's like, not sure what you mean. Taking off now. Call you later. And then he's in the air for 6 hours. And I'm sitting there going, oh shit. So that was the beginning of, later he lands, he calls me and he's like, I'm not sure what you mean money. There's no money left. We have all these expenses. I'm like, expenses? You took millions of dollars out of my bank account in the last 2 weeks. You tell me we have millions in expenses? He's like, well, yeah, there's some money that didn't get transferred a couple months ago. And so there was some debt. And I'm like, what? And that was the end. And I didn't really talk too much after that. I went and started grabbing some of the accounting files and then started calling attorneys. And while he was gone, I went to an attorney and a CPA and said, this is what just happened. This is what I'm afraid might have been going on for a while. And they started going through some tax documents and they're like, how much money did you bring in last year? And how about the year before? And I don't know, like 30, 35 million gross revenue. And they're like, oh, really? Because this says 300,000. I'm like, whoa, wait, what? I mean, it wasn't like a little mistake. It was like a huge mistake. So they just filled out tax returns, but they were company names that I had registered. So the tax returns were done under those companies. And they're like, dude, it's your responsibility. I'm like, but I don't have the money. They're like, they told me that I had two options. Option number one is I slip off into oblivion and make no noise, and hopefully nobody ever looks at it. Option number 2, I try my best with what records I have to refile the taxes and tell the IRS that it wasn't me. Here's what the right tax return should have said, and then just probably be paying them off for the rest of your life. So we'll go back to option 1. If somebody looks and I don't do anything and I just slip off into that oblivion you said, what happens if somebody looks and they're like, you'll go to prison? Like, this isn't a clerical error. This is like, there are millions of dollars of taxes that have been owed for years. So the interest alone is probably millions of dollars. Like, it's a lot. And I was like, oh my gosh, here I am. Prison again. I didn't think
completely
I'd be
different reasons. Oh my God.
So that's what I like. It was a non-negotiable. It was a non-starter. It wasn't a question. It wasn't a decision. It was like, I can't now with 4 kids. My 4th child was just born. I'm like, I got 4 kids, and I have to now try to piece Humpty Dumpty together and put the last 5 years of my business back together on paper and then file tax returns that ultimately ended up saying that there were millions of dollars of unpaid taxes. And the IRS wasn't stoked about that.
So what was the next few steps, and what happened to that person?
Well, the next few steps is I filed a lawsuit against them.
Against that person?
Yeah, and some of their companies and affiliated people that were involved. And they came back and filed dozens back against me. They had a strategy of you win by attrition, right? If you can just bleed your opponent out. And they knew I didn't have a lot of resources because they had all my resources. So they came back and hit me twice as hard. Then they started trying to find anybody in my life that I knew and serve them lawsuits too. Just frivolous, silly things. Just fuck with me, right?
Like your wife?
Yeah, she was included. My wife was included. Some of my friends were included. People that used to work for me that had been fired by these guys or that had left my company 2 years before, they were included. Just so I'm getting calls from people going like, Justin, what the fuck? What's going on,
Just
man?
to put pressure onto you, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So I realized I had got the wrong lawyer, and I started realizing these lawyers that I had in the beginning, if I stick with this, I'm going to get buried. This is when I started to recognize I got to figure out how to forgive, because the rumination, the toxic stuff coursing through my veins at this point was going to kill me, and that I had to figure out a better way to cope. And so I fired my lawyers. I had no lawyers for a minute, and I just like, I have to reset. And that's when I started just to get clear. I started to develop some of the frameworks I use today when it comes to finding professionals and lawyers and CPAs and things like that was from that battle-tested moment where I went through and found a lawyer that was able to go the next 4.5 years with me. And without her and her team, no way. I mean, some of the things that we were able to do they go against federal litigation rules. Like, it just, without the right person in that role, it would have never happened. But ultimately, 4.5 years of grinding, dozens and dozens of lawsuits later, settling with the CPA firm that was doing the taxes, getting an insurance claim against their errors and omissions insurance. Like, this whole soap opera of a drama unfolds. And 2 weeks, I believe it was, 1 or 2 weeks before we go to trial in the case, they settled with me for the back taxes.
So you have to go to court.
I was able to get, and a little, that taxes and some, and I was able to get, but the IRS was involved at that point. They were calling my attorney saying there's no chance a settlement will take place. Had federal agents all over the place, and just they were convinced, because one of his tactics 9 months before was to tell the IRS that I was trying to flee the country, because he had known that I had filed these new tax returns saying I owe millions. So somebody in the IRS got tipped off that I was trying to flee the country. So I immediately was under investigation by the IRS again about all this and disclosing everything. Just again, another tactic, because I had to submit like 900 pages of documents to the IRS. that keeps a guy busy. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't fight this lawsuit if I'm dealing with the IRS over here who's going so far up my backside, they're spitting out my mouth. You know, like it's crazy. So all these things going on. Then the settlement's coming in, and the IRS is just adamant that it's not going to happen. But the settlement did take place. There were funds wired into the. I never got the money into my personal account. The IRS would not allow it. So the IRS was a party. Not exactly a party to the lawsuit, but they were dictating the terms of the settlement to say funds have to go here. You have to set. So my attorneys had to sign things to personally guarantee that I would never receive the funds, and they would go straight to the IRS. Like, it was the most crazy circus dog and pony show that you could possibly imagine. But at the end of the day, that's why at the end of August, I said, I'm taking fall off. And that's what began to lead to, like, it was a good fall. It was a good 9 months after that in Hawaii and everything. But then, you know, that's when I should have jumped back in and found something to do with all that experience that I had in hindsight.
Yeah, wow. So where's this on the timeline of, like, the Vermont trip at the beginning? Where's this sitting in that time frame? Because I'm just trying to get all, like, the timelines filled in my head, if that makes sense, of where this took place.
I left for Vermont in 2010, right before I filed the lawsuit. And I did that to get space from all of those people.
Yeah.
So that I had a quiet place. Because I knew their tactics and antics, and I didn't want people coming over. And I was in such a state of fear and panic at that time. Like, I was outside of my mind. You know, I was really bananas. And I was so scared and nervous for my family, for their safety, for our well-being, that we'd gone to Vermont on vacation. And I said, honey, why don't we go a little earlier than usual? We'd usually go in October for a fall trip, you know. So why don't we go earlier and stay a little longer? Like, let's go in August and let's stay through fall, like into Thanksgiving and maybe even Christmas and stuff. Unbeknownst to her, I had negotiated this house lease to go through all the way through the school year. Because she would have probably not wanted well, she'll tell you right now, there's no way she would have agreed to go out that long. She was thinking 3-4 months maybe. Yeah. And we ended up staying for the whole school year. But that's what got me started into, you know, gave me a quiet place to work. And I was 2 hours ahead. You know, there's a time zone difference. It just gave me those mornings. They became sacred for me. That morning routine was, talk about critical. It was absolutely critical in those days. So that's where those things kind of came to pass, and that's when it started. And then we came back after a year. The first school year, we came back to Utah. Still had our house, the big house in Utah, and just came back. And it was like, man, all this traffic and pollution and chaos, and let's get the hell out of here. So we came back. We got the family together at the house for one last family get together, and then we went right back to Vermont. We bought a house sight unseen while we were in Utah. We bought a house in Vermont. And we went back and stayed there for 12 years.
Wow. And how long have you been back in Utah now?
About 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 4 years.
And the mist of everything that was dark has vanished in your mind now? Not
vanished, but it's things feel light. You know, I was thinking about this. I think it was another dream, to be honest, Andrew. Not a weird one, but
you and your dreams.
Maybe it's a premonition of this, or something I should say here. But I was thinking, it felt like a podcast that I was on, or something. And somebody asked me if I had quit drinking, or when I quit drinking. Or I said something about I don't drink, and I said, "Oh, when did you quit?" And it dawned on me that I'd made no resolution to quit. I just started drinking less. I started becoming more focused on being healthy. I started becoming more focused on getting fit. I started becoming more focused on getting my meditations back to where I know I can get them, and contributing to people in a meaningful way. And you know, it's been, I don't know how long it's been. What is it? January? Probably. It's been 6 or 8 months since I've had a drink at all. And before that, it was 8 or 12 months of just maybe one every couple of months. And there was no effort in it whatsoever. And I just thought of that in this dream. I thought that was pretty cool. I never even consciously decided. So that mist of darkness it really is leaving. And it's been lifting for those few years. And that's why one of the reasons I came back to Utah is there was a lot of crazy stuff around the pandemic in Vermont, because it was just the policy there was to be very restrictive, and it was just fucking on my kids was the bottom line. They were more comfortable wearing a mask than they were talking to a human being. I'm like, we're gone. This shit ain't normal.
Yeah.
And out here it was a lot more relaxed, and thank goodness. If it wasn't for that, like it was that was the catalyst that tipped me off on how far off the rails I had become. And I realized, whoa, I got some work to do. I mean, I did that for the kids. This is really for me. I just about didn't survive that thing, you know?
It sounds like everything that you've learned has allowed you to bring you to this moment of where we maybe should share your flywheel, your level, your 3 components. And like you said, you mentioned it before, didn't you? Is this really what helped you build? Because you've got your business now is called Propel. Is that everything you've learned put into this frame, into this?
It is. It's at, what I've recognized is that there's a process of renewal and reinvention almost that's continual. That you don't just do one and then you're done. No. You can, but you'll stay at that level. And to me, life and business kind of mirror each other, where it's maybe like a video game. There's level 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a lot of clients that some of them have been in business for 2 years and they're stuck at $1 million. Some of them have been in business for 20 years and they're stuck at $1 million. And they exhibit the same sort of blockers, whether it's 20 years or a year in business. There's these ideas that are pervasive in their thoughts that translate to their actions that keep them stuck at the level that they're at. Sometimes it's $1 million, sometimes it's 3. There's different issues at 3 than there is 1, right? There's different nuances to it. But what I've found is that if you get this process of systems and delegation and mindset to kind of reset that process and start again, you can go from 1 to 2. And then at 2, you'll kind of hit these lists. Okay, well, now I'm at 2. You need to work through some shit at 2. So you need to work on the systems that you're operating under. You need to learn how to let go of shit that doesn't serve you anymore. So I call it delegation in that flywheel for business, but it's just as applicable in your personal life. It might not be a delegation tactic, but it's stop doing shit that doesn't serve you anymore tactic. And then you work on the mindset for where I want to go. And that's like the recycle arrow, it just keeps going around, that you can keep going through that process. And each time you complete a rotation, an iteration, you level up. And you see and it makes me think of one of my favorite quotes, which is, you don't have to see the top of the staircase to take the first step. It's taking that step that gets you up 8 inches. And when you're up here, you can see just a little bit more than you could down there. And then you can do it again. And then you keep going up. And then all of a sudden before you know it, you have a totally different view of everything, because you have reached a much higher level by following those steps.
So Propel, what you tell us, paint a picture about a typical scenario of the client that comes to you, and the scale of what they work with every single day for you to help them. What problems do they come to you with? What do they want to change? And how do you do it?
It's usually people that feel like they're kind of stuck or trapped. They're putting a lot of time. And it's very similar to what I described me like, I want to keep growing, but I can't grow my time. So the solution sometimes looks like more. It just feels like I got to do more to get more of a solution. And that's often the actual behavior that's keeping you stuck. It's not more. There's a process of letting go that we need to talk about. There's some systems that you don't just let go and not pay attention, or somebody will steal $25 million from you like they did me, right? Like, don't do that. There's a process to it. You create systems, you delegate those systems, and then you look at the next blocker that you have. So there's this idea it's called the theory of constraints. It's in a book called The Goal. And this is like Jeff Bezos has all of his management people read this book. And the idea is you work on the thing that's constraining. So I'll use like a metaphor of a manufacturing company. If you manufacture cars and you produce 5 engines a day, 4 sets of wheels a day, but only 1 chassis a day, where's your constraint? It's in the chassis. You want to sell more cars, right? So any amount of time that you go up and you're spending in the engine department is probably stupid when your constraint is really in chassis. So you spend you put 99% of your resources into that chassis. You get that up to where you're producing 4, 5, 6 of those. If you're producing 6 of those, then your constraint becomes wheels, because you're only producing 4 sets of wheels. So you go there. Yeah, and business, just like life, is never going to be easy. You're never going to just check a box and be like, okay, done, all set. So there's always something to deal with. But if you look at it through that theory of constraints and that freedom flywheel, then you have some models to follow. So you know that, okay, I'm going to get up today and I'm an entrepreneur. So I don't mind solving problems. Hell, that's what the world pays me to do. Solve problems. Let's just not keep solving the same dumbass problems we've been working on for 10 years. Let's level up our problem solving. Because if I can create a system or a process, here's like a good example. Okay. Fitness, I've mentioned, been a big thing for me the last couple of years. I realized the key to fitness journey is meal prep. Okay. That's where I was at. I got to this point where I had to prep meals. Oh, I fucking hate prepping meals, Andrew. I hate
me
it.
too, man.
Okay. I was standing in the kitchen one day. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get all 3 meals ready for tomorrow. And I had all this food to pick from, and I was putting things on the scale, and I'm writing down how much it is. After about 30 minutes, my back, I'm just like, oh, fuck, it's hurting. And I'm getting angry, And I'm like, what in the hell am I doing? So I grab my phone, I grab a tripod, I stick it on there, and I create the rest of my meals, and I film it all. And then I take that film and I turn it into a playbook. I come into work the next day. I create a process, an SOP out of the whole thing. This is what I do. This is what I need. This is how I need it. And then, so I've got the video showing me, like, anybody can watch it. And I'm just talking through me boxing shit up, putting it in something to eat. I come into work the next day. I'm like, hey, could you guys run an ad on Facebook or something? Just see if there's somebody that can help around, like a house helper, $15, $20 an hour, something like that. I get a girl in college to respond to the ad. She comes over and is like, yeah, I can do this. I'm like, here's your instructions. She shows up for like 2 hours, 3 times a week, puts all my meals, puts everything, takes my protein powder, puts it in one of these shaker bottles. So all I got to do is add water in the morning when I wake up. All the things that suck about it, that's getting rid of the shit that no longer works for me. And now I know. All I do is tell her what I need. Like, okay, I'm doing a little cut. Let's go from 2,300 calories to 1,900 calories. Let's drop this, this, and this. And it's like, okay, done. And then I put everything in a box. So creating those systems, see, if you don't like meal prep, and that's the level that you need to get through, and that's maybe not a great example for business, but it was fucking transformative for me, I'll tell you.
Yeah, would be for me too.
And it wasn't that much money, It was a net. What was cool about it is after she came a few times, I'm like, would you mind just like, mopping the floor right here around this area, maybe one time a week when you come. And then my wife comes home one day and she's like, did you mop the floor? I'm like, well, as a matter of fact. I didn't finish the answer. I just said, as a matter of fact, and I let her just assume, right? and then that turned into, could you maybe clean the hall bathroom, just a light cleaning on your way out? And she's like, yeah. I mean, that's a little bit more time and money for me, for sure. And then that turned into, I hate getting the vitamins out of I like to take vitamins in the morning, and it's not a big deal, but it takes me a few minutes. Like, could you just add that? And now it's really just optimizing more and more to that process. And I add it to her checklist, and she comes in. She's there for 90 minutes. Check, 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 check. She doesn't care. She walks in. She turns on the Apple speaker. She puts her favorite music on. I'm like, hey, have at it. Do whatever the hell you want. Just box all that shit up, put Post-it notes on my meals, and then I come in the next day, and I'm ready to go day at a time. I got all my calories counted. And I just don't have to think about it. And I don't have the resistance to doing the part that sucks, so that I can be successful with it. Yeah. And I watch my body composition change, the results that I get change. Man, game changer. So that same strategy is what I do with people, sometimes for meal plans and meal prep. More often it's in business. Why are they stuck? Why can't they break through a revenue ceiling? What are they holding on to? Where is their time going that's not effective? Simple things that are just missed sometimes, where a duplicatable, repeatable strategy or a process or an SOP can be taken and given to somebody else. And I usually start with that administrative stuff, because that's a real quick and easy win that I can get somebody. I need validity. I need somebody to buy into my thinking. So usually when I start with somebody, it's like, let's get some dumb shit off your plate fast. If I can give you 5 hours a week back in the next 2 weeks, and you get rid of your 3 like shittiest tasks that are just like, oh, I hate this. Then people are like, oh my gosh, what else can you do?
Lightens the load, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So Propel, that's what you do on a debate. You're a business, so essentially you're a business coach.
Yes. Yep.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And you've obviously still got the bookkeeping side of things going as well.
I do, but not as much. I only have a few clients over there. I've sold most of them off. There was a few that stayed around. But my focus now is just coaching because it allows me to avoid a whole area of that's my own evolution with mindset systems and delegation, that I had to leave that behind because I keep getting pulled in to that administrative stuff. And then I feel like I'm accomplishing something when after a whole quarter goes by and I realize everything that was really important to me to accomplish, to reach more people, didn't get done so that I could sit and look over somebody's P&L that an accountant could do 10 times better than me. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes
so mostly
sense.
no accounting. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. There you go. You're doing other things. I'm sure. Well, actually, is there anything else that we need to add to the Propel side? Because I'm obviously going to put everything in the show notes if anyone can reach out. And I've probably kept you for a long time. You're going to go for dinner with your family and whatnot. But School Plus. Let's talk about School Plus. You're helping hundreds of thousands of kids with their mental health support. Let's share away with that.
Yeah, I love, one of my maybe faults is that I do love to get involved with many projects. And so one of the projects that I got involved with, this was many years ago, and it was kind of part of the reason I came to Utah too, because a friend of mine was a co-founder of that company. It's called School Pulse, Pulse, schoolpulse.org.
Yep.
And at the time, I had one of my boys was kind of dealing with some mental health challenges too. So it really struck a chord with me. And when my buddy called and said, we've got this company, I think it's something cool, but we need help with sales and marketing. We just nobody can do that. Can you help? I just jumped all the way in. I loved it. And the essence of what School Pulse does, and it's expanded to offer more things, but they provide support to students through text messages. So it's a proactive outreach. It goes in through schools. And that was the difficulty, is trying to learn how to sell and market to schools and federal government, which is a nightmare. I probably would have never signed up if I knew how hard that was. So bless you, Andrew, and those of you who work in public schools. Man, I don't know how you deal with it. I absolutely hate it.
You've got a beautiful website. I was just looking at the website, actually. It's a beautiful website.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll put it in the show notes.
That's my buddy, the
co
co-founder. He does all that. He's the tech guy, and he's a brilliant engineer. But the technology is overlaid, and now there's an element of AI in it that does a lot of content creation based on the other co-founder, Yuri Mello, who's an LCSW and a practicing therapist of like 4 years or something. And his niche, kind of his jam, his specialty is adolescent kids. That's where his sweet spot is. And he's a big fan of positive psychology, where instead of just focusing in on the disease model, it's like how to build a resilient, positive, healthy, productive psychology. So we send text messages through School Pulse 3 times a week to kids all over the country. And we're mostly U.S. We have had a few inquiries from Australia and New Zealand, but I don't think we can support them yet.
You got me. I can help out. We can affiliate with the podcast, maybe.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
There you go.
We send a text message. We check in. We do a survey once a week to just say, how you feeling? 1 through 4, and 1, poor, 4, great. And that really is what sparks a lot of the conversations. And it's not automated. The outbound message isn't automated. We write it once. We send it to everybody. But then any response that we get is responded to by a human being at different levels of clinical expertise, from master's level students that are working on their degree to licensed master's and PhD level social workers and therapists and psychologists. And it's phenomenal. We've had so many success. Thousands literally over the last few years, Andrew, of kids that have been struggling, that have had nobody to talk to. They just feel like they cannot say these words out loud to anyone. But when you give them the power with their thumbs to explain what's going on, they open up and they communicate. And it has been nothing short of miraculous. So it's been such a fun project to be a part of. And so much good. So
The
many
children could do it right there in the moment, and no one would even know that they're speaking. And in that, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they could, if they're sitting with people and something's just come up. How often do you forget? Not that you forget, but you forget the feeling of what it made you feel that somebody said or did or what you're going through, and then you kind of just put it to one side, and that's where the chronic level builds up. Whereas if you could text in the moment, I've never even thought of anything like that before. That's amazing.
Yep. It is, and it gives, and just that it gives them the ability to have some privacy, to go into a private place, to, and it's cool to watch, to see. I've onboarded many schools, and we usually will start out with like an assembly where Yuri, who is the face of that, will go talk to the kids and say, "This is the program that we're doing. This is what you can do. This is how it works, and then scan this QR code and you can opt in." And the kids all start, and then we can sit back and see all the responses, right? We can watch them come in, and you'll see the kids just kind of like poking, jabbing at it, just seeing like, is this real? Is this They're trying to see if it's AI, if it's robots. As soon as they recognize that it's a real person, I mean, it's usually about 2 or 3 hours after that onboarding moment, just the chats light up. So a new school that's never had, and there's always this group of that have serious issues to work, like problems that have been bottled up for a long time, and there's this batch of issues that need to be dealt with. And then there's like some middle of the road, like this could develop into some issues. And then there's like 85% of the population that are just like, hey, this is cool, yeah, whatever, And we just nudge, we just nurture. We just tap them on the shoulder like, hey, just checking in. It's Feel Good Friday. What's making you feel good today? Just something silly and simple that keeps those kids connected, so that we've had kids on there that have been there for 3 years, and then on year 4, they run into an issue, and we hear from them for the first time, and that's when they're thinking of self-harm. And they turned to the person, the company, our techs that have been coming into their cell phone for 3 years straight, and they've never responded to one. And they're like, hey, is there anybody there? And then there it goes. And now they're talking with a social worker that can help them. And we always kind of drive them and direct them back to their local resources, their family first, if that's a healthy situation, then school resources, and then state, county resources. Like, I mean, it's many times I've come to work and just been working on that, and just you're breaking into tears of joy, of relief, of sorrow and sadness to see these things that are going on. These kids are fighting through and working through, but it's been a remarkable project to be involved with, for sure.
That's something I could definitely get stuck into. I love it. That is amazing. Yeah. We'll have to talk about that one, I think. Fantastic. Love it. Okay. So I feel like we've done a full circle. Justin, have we done a full circle in your opinion? Obviously, you know your life better than anybody else.
I think we've hit some pretty good notes here. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good at pulling it out of there, I think, for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, future plans for you, Justin. We always close the episode down with a couple of simple questions, just because we're here on the best podcast in the world. Joke. Joke. We're not here. We've not made it. We've not finished. Like you said before, there's more stairs to climb, dips, mountains to cross, bigger hills on the other side, mountains on the other side of the small hill, should I say. Where does your future plans lie, and how do they look?
Well, that distant thing that I'm looking at way out there is I really want to help give hope to people that don't feel, and kids that don't feel like there is hope, or that feels out of reach, and to let them know that it's not, that it's closer than you think, and it's definitely worth trying. It's definitely worth the fight. Like that effort, there is hope, and that's a big thing. And even if in a less serious but still impactful way, I think I want entrepreneurs and business owners to know that there's hope to build something meaningful and to contribute with their little special brand of crazy. They can build a business, and they don't have to be chained to it. They don't have to work 20 hours a day. They can do it in a meaningful way that advances them while they're sharing their gifts with the world too. So that's my future, is figuring out ways that I can have more leverage on the impact, more cool podcasts like this, so that more people can hear. And if this resonates with anybody, I'd love it, and would feel so honored if you just come check me out on Instagram. That's where we post the most consistently. And I personally am answering any direct message. So if there's a question you have, if there's a playbook you want, like DM me. I love jumping in there, and it's me you're talking to, no robots, 100% of the time.
Love it, love it. Well, for that, on that note, Justin, your email is justin@propelyour.com. Is that correct? I'm making sure I get this right.
Yep.
Your website, www.propelyour.com. For my accent, that is your as in YOUR. Find him on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram, as you just said. So it's just Instagram is It's Justin Lund. I'm correct on that one as well.
That's right. That's right.
And he's also following my podcast, and I'm following him as well. I've just lost all my personal social media, so I've lost that, but we'll reconnect on that as well once we get off. Your journey's touched on many different facets and hit different notes, with everything you've been through. You've come to where you come now, and you're doing wonderful things, and you've turned it into your purpose. But what is anyone that can touch on our topics today and maybe feeling this very similar, but maybe different scenarios? Just a general piece of advice to finish on. You've given loads of wisdom and gems throughout it, but what could you leave us on today?
I would say that underneath, or maybe overarching all of the thoughts that I kind of dance around, is an underlying current of don't let your life happen to you. Design it, choose it, pick something. Despite the noise and the resistance or anything that you may face, like, choose the life you want. Don't just let it happen to you, because you do have choices, and you always have a choice. Even when something you didn't choose gets inflicted upon you, you have a choice for how you can respond in that moment. So choose your life and design it to the best of your ability.
Love it. I do this on purpose. I actually never mentioned the word choice, but every single episode, I think I feel like you're episode 105 or 106, and choices is the word that connects every single episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all about choices. It all comes down to choices.
Well, that's why I had such a good time here then today.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Yeah, lovely. I've got a very, very, very tough question for you, and I've not told you about this question, so be ready.
Okay.
This is the second to final question, I promise. What's the question you wish people would ask you, but they never do?
Oh, boy.
I told you.
Okay. Oh, man, Andrew. I guess where to start. And that's what's coming to my mind. Like so many of the people that kind of lean in and come talk to me, they're like, well, I do this and I'm trying this and I'm gonna do this. Like, let's just get simple. Like, where do I start? What's the starting point? And that's what I want people to ask of me, because if you do the right thing at the wrong time, fucked. Like, that doesn't help. You know what I mean? The sequence of things is important. Mm-hmm. Maybe more important than what the thing actually is, if you're doing it in the right order, And that is, so what do I do first? Where should we start first?
Yeah. I mean, we could ask that question at every point of your journey, couldn't we? Where, it's a tough question, and I know I put you on the spot, and I didn't prepare you for that one on purpose because I needed your answer to be completely authentic. I love it. No, it's a great. Yeah. Where do we start? Purpose. Your purpose is pretty crystal clear, but what is your purpose? If you could have put it into one line,
I think I would probably come back to that. What I mentioned a minute ago, like, don't let life happen to you. Choose it. Mm-hmm. Make life a choice. Make your life a choice, and your choices of life in line with what it is that works and makes sense for you. And yeah, that's it. There's a lot to it. You're never done. You never arrive. You don't. The staircase keeps going, but you don't just let it happen to you, and don't accept those well-meaning or ignorant comments of, well, then what are you going to do for a real job? Screw that noise. Like, choose it and pursue it with wild abandon.
Love it. Be the crazy guy in the room.
That's right.
Where are you going to start your day tomorrow then? Speaking of starting.
Well, I'm going to be in a hotel room with my wife tomorrow, and we're going to get back to our the last bits of our annual planning. So we're going to get through that week, and I'll start the day with meditation. I'll do some exercise, and then I'll sit down with her, and we'll get into mapping out the rest of we've kind of mapped out all the big dates, and now we're looking at our list of goals and overlaying that to the calendar and saying, if we're going to get these things done, where on that, what real estate, using the calendar as a real estate example, what real estate, where does it go? Where do we put them in? And we start plugging those pieces in and having somewhat of a game plan. So that's my day tomorrow.
Love it. Justin Lund, thank you for joining me on my journey. It's been an absolute honor. It's been a long one, and I didn't mean to keep you on this long, but thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
It was needed. It was clearly needed, wasn't it?
I appreciate it. Thanks, Andrew. It was a good time.
I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I know everybody listening will be able to take a lot away from this, wherever they sit, in many different facets, whether it's business, whether it's starting in that pivotal moment, they're stuck, the middle, the beginning, the end. We can change our life. It comes down to choices. So much to this episode we can take away. Everything will be in the show notes. So Justin, once again, thank you, Justin, all the way from Utah. It's been an absolute honor.
Thank you.
Everybody else. Oh, no, you're welcome. Anytime. Welcome back anytime. So everybody else, have a great week. Have a great weekend. Make sure you keep leading your own way and come back next week for another amazing guest. Until then, keep leading your own way and have a great one. We'll see you then. Bye for now. It's always sad, but we're here. We're at the end. That's part 2 with Justin Lund. We've come to the close. And honestly, what a conversation. So a lot longer than usual, but it's Justin's proof that you can come back from the darkest chapters. Not just survive them, but to build a life you're proud of. From fear and panic to peace and purpose. From being judged for his past to using it as fuel to help others through Propel. And to support young people through School Pulse. If there's one thing to take away with you, it's this. You always have a choice. And your next choice matters more than your last mistake. If this episode helped you, please follow the podcast, share it with a mate, and leave a review. It helps this message travel further. Keep walking your own way, and don't wait for rock bottom to start rising. Have a great week, have a great weekend. Make sure you come back next week for another amazing journey, another amazing guest. Until then, keep leading your own way. We'll see you. Bye for now. Thanks for listening and watching Leading Our Own Way. So we can stay together forever and share more incredible journeys, please subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss next week's episode and what that amazing guest has to offer to the world. Please support Leading Our Own Way, and we'll get you on next week's episode.